Today we're doing an overcharge test on cell number 35. It is charged up to 4.2, working on 4.21 volts, and our test subject, as you know, is cell number 35. It's an LG Chem NMC LMO pouch cell from a Chevy Volt generation 1. The low voltage spec for these type of cells is 3 volts. The nominal voltage is 3.7, and the high voltage level, we use 4.15 as a safe range, but 4.2 is the actual specs. Like I said, we've got it charged up to 4.2. It's working on 4.21. So far there is no change to the cell. So our question is, what happens when one of these cells gets charged above the 4.15 volts? Like I said, we're at 4.2 to 4.21 already, and there's no difference. So our hypothesis is the cell will swell up, or should swell up, in the 4.15 to 5 volt range. And then also the cell may burst, the pouch, this final pouchy thing, I'm thinking in the 5 to 6 volt range as it swells or puffs, if it does that. And then not sure if we'll get to the point to actually bursting the vinyl pouch or catching on fire or bursting into flames, but we will see. And we started off at 3.26 volts. I kept track of it. I don't know why, but like I said, we're working on 4.21, and then it's creeping on 4.22 volts. So we'll keep a track of it from here. I'm gonna set up a camera so we can also, or not a camera, a clock, so we can keep track of time. Alrighty, it is 9:07 a.m. Our cell number 35 is still charging, and it's at the 4.21 to 4.22 range, and still not much of any difference. 9:20 a.m. We're about 15 minutes into the test. Cell number 35 has risen up to 4.25 volts, and still not much change. I set the cell up on a brick to be able to get a little bit more visual or definition. It's 9:38 a.m. We're about 30 minutes into our test. Cell number 35 has risen to 4.28 volts, and still no visible difference. 9:45, well, 9:46 a.m. now. Our cell number 35 has risen up to 4.29 volts, or just about 4.3 volts, and still totally uneventful. Ten 10:07 a.m. We are 1 hour into our test of overcharging cell number 35. We've got it charged up to 4.33 volts, and there's still no noticeable differences. And it's 10:27 now. We are 1.5 hours into our test. We have cell number 35 now charged up to 4.36 volts according to the meter, and still no noticeable difference. We're up to 11:07 a.m. 2 hours into our test of overcharging cell number 35. and we've got it charged up. We started off at 4.21 volts, and 2 hours later we are at 4.41 volts, and still very little, if any, difference. I don't see any difference in the wrinkles in the pouch or anything. Just an update. It is now 12:07. We started the test at 9:07, so it's been 3 hours. The voltage has risen to 4.47 volts, so pretty close to 4.5 volts now, way over the 4.2 volt spec limit. And still don't see hardly any difference. Yep, we'll keep track of it. It is now 1:07. We've been testing our cell number 35 since 9:07, so we're at the 4-hour mark. Our little 5-volt charger has our cell charged up to 4.51 volts, and still no visible difference in the cell. I figured it'd start swelling up by now or something. It's 2:07 now. We are, let's see here, 5 hours into the test. Our little 5-volt charger has cell number 35 charged up to 4.53 volts now, and still very little noticeable difference. I'm going to hook up our other meter here just to verify there is 4.53 volts in there. So back to black, red to red. 4.541 volts. Yeah, they both say about the same. Well, it's the next day now. Our cell is settled to 4.15 volts. I believe we stopped charging yesterday at like 4.45. And still no noticeable difference. So I'll reconnect our charger and charge up some more, I guess. Well, our cell is charged up to 4.32 volts. Not really any noticeable difference. Well, looking over the results from our overcharge test, we went ahead and charged it up. And then yesterday we started at 4.21 volts at 9 o'clock in the morning, and 5 hours later we were at 4.55 volts according to the meter, and I even double checked it with our yellow meter. So to not change the test parameters, I just wrapped it up for the night and let it settle overnight. And 9 o'clock this morning it had settled from 4.55 volts down to 4.15 volts, but still had no visible change, no swelling, no puffing, no nothing. So we did no swelling between 4 and 5 volts. We haven't got between 5 and 6 volts. So I guess we'll maybe have to try a larger charger. More to come.